Hello and welcome back to the channel. Okay, so we've got a Gamers Initiative podcast today. We've been away for a few weeks now because, we've both been working, me and Red Dead Panda. Hello, Red Dead Panda.
Hi Elite, thanks for having me again. I love
Yeah,
I love coming and doing a podcast with you
it's good
on the
fun.
weeks we are able to do a podcast.
Yeah,
They're lots of fun.
yeah. And we talk a lot. As once again, we've been up about, what, half hour ago, an hour ago? We've just waffled as we always do, don't we, for about all other stuff. So, the rest of the world.
Yeah, catching up on everything. The state of the world, the
Yeah.
state of gaming. Yeah, just a good catch up.
Let's hold ourselves back. So we've got a few topics today, but let's first get into intros. Where can we find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Red Dead Panda 1, and that's the number one. I now have 90 followers on Twitter, so I'm actually very happy. And for all the people out there who follow me, thank you. I appreciate it. And for the people I follow myself, I love the content. That's why I'm following you. um, and then you can find me on YouTube. I actually have a video ready to come out, so that's gonna be ready shortly. But you can find me on YouTube at Red Dead Panda Gaming, and you can always add me on Xbox Live at Red Dead Panda 871. What about you, Elite? Where is the only place we can find
Only
you?
place in the world. Well, you can find me here. That's it. No,
Where
I'm
is
also on
here?
Discord,
Is
but
that the UK?
yeah, here in the UK. You can find me on YouTube and here where you are right now. But also on Discord, we want to get our. I don't know what our Discord number is. Discord's rubbish for finding people and trying to. Have you noticed that? Finding people.
It's
Sort of,
fine if you know what you're doing, Elite.
oh,
Um,
I've had
User
problems.
error. All I'm hearing is that is a you problem, Elite. I can help you with that. That's fine.
Me and Joey Graphics God were trying to find each other the other day. We was both on it for about 10 minutes just trying to locate each other. It was a right issue. Because if you just type
Yeah,
in
it's not the
if
easiest.
you give it the
I'll agree
person's
with
number
that.
and you type that in the search, it doesn't find them, does it? You know, everyone has a number.
It worked for me one time.
Yeah, it just seems a bit
One
hit and
time.
miss.
It's worked once for me, guys.
I don't know what my number is.
Once.
I have to put it into the comments. But yeah, I'm on Discord, so we
Oh,
want to
yeah.
get as many of you on Discord as possible, so we can all chat and sort of chat. That's all I can say really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
should we
exactly. Get some people on Discord.
we get a bunch of us on Discord. We want to get as many on Discord as possible, so we can
Well,
all sort of
what have you
get our
done,
thoughts
Elite?
on there. Sorry.
What have you been up to? We might as well just catch
Oh,
you up with. I know you said you've been working, but what have you been up to?
other than working, I sort of having to spend some time with family because I was away for a few weeks and sort of catching up with the family, doing some bits around the family, and catching up on the Xbox, playing some games because there's been some new games. The Mech Warrior 5's now out on Gamepass if you're unaware, so I can't wait to get into that. There's also that shark game. You know, you go as a shark eating people.
A man-eater?
Yeah, that's on the Game Pass as well.
Well, you just told me Conan's on Game
And
Pass
Conan as
when we were
well.
talking
It's just dropped on
before.
Game Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, another game. So yeah, there's quite a few games
I don't
dropped on there.
I don't have time to play as that many Game Pass games. There's just too many games, guys.
So they're all indies
People
anyway.
say Xbox has no
Yeah, they're
games.
all indies.
Hey,
It's all
every
PC.
studio started out as an indie somewhere down the line,
Yeah.
guys.
Also, Emma built the showroom
Don't
as well.
knock an indie.
But
You calling them indie or
but
just
a PlayStation
a
first party developer games on there as well. So it must be trash.
yeah, yeah.
Must be, but the game first party Sony Studios must be Game Pass follow.
um, I have been playing Mass Effect.
Oh yes.
Mass Effect 1 on Legendary Edition, like clock that. I think that's my sixth time playing that game. I love the Mass Effect franchise.
Yeah.
I'm currently playing number 2 at the moment, and then we'll go on to play number 3. I think number 2 is the one I've played the most.
I
Number
like.
3 is the one I've played number 3 I've played the least.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't like number two. I quite like number two. I thought it was quite good.
My favorite.
But a lot of
Yeah.
people didn't take to it as well. Didn't take to the characters. But I like the variety of characters and stuff in it. Where you go and recruiting them, fly around the sort of universe
I
recruiting
mean,
new characters.
number 2 had some pretty good DLC, like the Shadow Broker DLC, where you reintroduce Liara back into the storyline. So number 2 is really, really good. I have also started Psychonauts because that's on Game
Oh
Pass,
yeah,
the
there is.
original, because Psychonauts 2 is coming out. So I was like,
Yeah.
I might as well actually find out what this game is, because that game does have a lot of love in the community that it exists in. Um, so I was like, might as well give it a go. So
Yeah,
I've been playing a little bit of that, and I say a little bit, I've barely started it. But from what I have played, I'm like, I get why it gets its love. It's quirky, but it also makes you think outside the box in certain things. I was like, even the opening menu where you run over the brain to get into the door to find to start the game type thing. I was like, that's a smart way to do it. I didn't think about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
little things. It's
you
the
got
little things that get you
Tenacious
guys.
D. Jack Black is covering the all the music, isn't he, for the second one? Cycles. They've got him on board.
Yeah, for the
Yeah,
sequel, yeah. Yeah, so I think that game has really benefited from the additional development time that it's had an opportunity to get
yeah,
because of the acquisition with Microsoft.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that's quite not my style of game, but yeah, it looks sort of promising. It looks good. It looks interesting. It looks different. And I like
Mm.
Jack Black and stuff. It's good that they got him on board to do stuff. So
I mean, you'll probably have a nosy at it just because you
oh, because it'll
can,
be on Game
because it's
Pass.
on
Yeah,
Game
because yeah,
Pass.
exactly. Otherwise, I
Yeah.
wouldn't look
Yeah,
at it at all.
exactly.
Yeah.
All
So
right,
yeah, let's
get
get
into
into it.
some topics.
So the first
What are our topics today?
topics are as follows: PS5 tech issues. Then we've got State of Play, Horizon Forbidden West impressions, and then we're going to finish up on Unreal Engine 5 demo. So, should we get into this? PS5
Yeah,
tech
it's been the
issues.
talking point of the week.
Alright,
Do
so
you want to lead us off?
yes, so I've recently dropped a video. Plug. PS5 tech issues. So there's been a few
Fraud.
developers now, a few developers now that have mentioned tech issues with the PS5, despite not really much of the media really picking up on it, and people just sort of glazing over the whole thing. But we've had first it was Returnal, so House Marquee, I believe, made Returnal. They were saying the issues because it's had a lot. For one, I think it runs 1080p, doesn't it? And there's a lot of
Yep.
it was held back basically. There's a lot of issues with it. It had crashing problems. Actually they posted a list of issues with the game. Why this went under the radar with Metacritic, I'm unsure. Why it's still got 86% despite all its issues, which even the developers admitted, I'm unsure. But I'm pretty sure we can all figure out the reason for that because it's a PS exclusive. But yeah, they listed a load of issues, but they put all the issues down to the PS5 and they said that there's technical issues with the PS5. Then we had Biomutant drop, and once again, they say that was held back on the PS5, and the developers of that, who's the developers of that? I can't remember now. They said the same.
THQ Nordic, is that right?
Yeah, I think they're the publishers, but I can't remember who the developers
Oh,
are.
Biomutant. Give me a second. I'll check that for you.
Right,
One moment, please, caller.
on hold.
Biomutant. We appreciate your service. um, okay, so they publishers to THQ Nordic, but developers Experiment 101.
Yeah, they're only a small indie team, and
Yeah,
apparently there's about 30 of them. And I think the game looks good for a small indie game. Um, so
I would agree with you.
they said it's held back on the PS5 due to technical issues and all. So there's been issues for Biomutant, but this is then reflected in the score by Metacritic, and it only scored like 62% compared to Returnal that scored 86% despite its issues. So so that's had technical issues, and then we had also the developers of Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, which is a game that should become it's another multi-platform game, but it's actually been held back on the PS5 only because of technical issues. The developers said they've come across a lot of technical issues with the PS5, so the game's not going to be releasing the same day on the PS5 as it is on the other platforms. So, what is your impressions of that, Red Dead Panda?
I think it's interesting. There's so much going on with that, and so much to unpack there. If we just look at, and I'm going to go by game, just so I can keep my brain on track logically. Um, but so we're looking at what Returnal,
Yep.
and we know that that isn't running as well as it should be. The developers weren't able to push it graphically or resolution wise as far as they should have. And there was still hitching and other technical difficulties, and the game was crashing. And there was a big subset of the community who bought this game day one at $70, who were it's unplayable. Like they were able to play it for a little bit, and then it would crash. And then if they tried to go back on and play it, they couldn't play it. and then Sony wasn't doing refunds. And
No.
then their idea behind doing a refund was like, if we get told that we need to order refunds from the developer or the publisher, that's we're going to allow that as part of our refund policy. What annoyed me, I guess, about I mean, I think the game for what it is and the style of gameplay and everything like that, I think there is a subset of the community that that game is really going to hit, and people have found a home for it and they love it and they like the fact that it's soul crushing in the sense of if until you get to a boss, everything that you have is gone, so you don't save your progress. Once you get to a boss, at least some of your progress is saved. Um, but that is also why that game is unplayable, and I think we're looking at limitations of the way that PlayStation has set up their development kit and set up I don't know how to describe it, but there are limitations or what we've been talking about over the past however long. I'm trying to think how long we've been talking about this now. A year at least, about that there is clear evidence that there is something wrong with the design of the PlayStation 5 and how it works. People should be getting more out of it because it's been out longer. The dev kit has been out longer for all these people designing games to run on the PS5. So they shouldn't be running into these hitching problems or finding out towards later in the development that there are these problems like you're hearing about with Biomutant and you're hearing about with the other Sniper Ghost Warrior contracts too. That's such a wordy name for a game,
It
guys.
is, yeah.
The people who name that game needs to maybe get a pay increase so they actually strive for a decent name. But back to reality, it's just like there's clear evidence that there's a problem because now we're what how long that development kit's been out, and even I guess pushing updates and improving it based on advice from developers, and even just I guess making the development tools and the features you on the development toolkit, they're a lot more mature now. So you shouldn't be running into these hitching problems. If anything, it should be getting better. But you're hearing this from the developers that there are these issues. Biomutant, how is that even fair that there is such a disparity between resolution? I think what from my understanding that game's on Xbox One, Xbox One X, PS4, PS4 Pro, and the new consoles. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
Biomutant's
Cross gen.
cross gen
Yeah.
and a
Everyone's calling it
multiplayer game.
everyone's calling it a BC game, so that's the reason why. But I don't believe it is a BC game, it's a cross gen game. A backwards compatible game would be a game that released a while back on last gen
I
consoles and
wouldn't
then is
say
ported forward onto next gen. But a
I wouldn't say
cross
it's
gen
really
game is a game that releases on all consoles at the same time, which is what
well.
PlayStation did.
I think yeah, my understanding is it's a cross-gen game,
Yeah,
but I think because a lot of its development, where it started, it was designed around the PS4 and PS4 Pro, and then it also they had to port it over to the PS5 and get it up and running on the PS5, and that's where I think
they're getting
you're
backwards
running
compatible
into
from.
these issues. Yeah, yeah, they're running it into issues there because the way the PlayStation picks up the old code on, like, you're hearing about, like, even people moving from Xbox One and Xbox One X through to the new GDK on Xbox's new consoles, the Series consoles. They're able to get a game up and running very quickly and moving it from one console generation to the next because they've designed that ecosystem to allow that continuity to make it very easy for developers to move from one generation to the next by just allowing games to have that Gen 9 awareness, like with Cyberpunk, Gen 9 awareness. And then we're looking at we're not hearing that on the PlayStation 5 side. Like Biomutant's ridiculous that there's such a big difference between the resolution. The PS5 should be able to at least get somewhere closer to what the Xbox Series X is, or even the Xbox Series S is.
Yeah, it's
I know that.
it's barely matching the Xbox Slim, the Xbox Series Slim. It's
I,
like it's level pegging with that, which it shouldn't be because the Xbox Series Slim is like £200 cheaper.
it shouldn't be. I mean, Sniper Ghost Warrior contracts. The fact that they can't, every other version of the game, even the Series S, Series X version of the game is coming out. Um, what is it? June 4th? No, when is it? June something. Oh yeah, it is June 4th. Sorry, I've got it right here. All coming out June 4th. Even the PC version. The only version that is actually delayed, so you can still play the PS4 version on your
Yeah,
PS5 because it's going to pick up the backwards compatibility. From my understanding, that's what it should be doing. But you can't play a PS5 version of it because of the technical problems that they have even said
yeah,
they've run into till recently. They
that's right.
they they didn't realize that this was going to be an issue, and now it is.
Yeah,
Um, what's going on there? Like
yeah.
that's highly concerning that we're now 6 months into a generation and we're running into these problems. I mean, yeah, you and I were talking about. I mean, I was talking about earlier that there was a documents surfaced about the new SKU number for the PlayStation 5 because they're changing a wireless module in it. Obviously, maybe the wireless module they were using is harder to find or something, but just a sign to go, why is things changing this early in development? I mean, early in the console life cycle that you're already starting to replace components and change out components. So
Yeah.
I think
On the sly,
I don't know. I'm just
telling
like
gamers.
I
Yep. Yeah.
I feel bad for the PS5 owners who are running into this issue. If this is a game that you wanted, or if you wanted to be able to like actually do a complete comparison and have a fair idea and get, I guess, justified in your purchase, you don't feel always justified in your purchase when you're dealing with third party titles because of this issue. People are complaining and bagging on the developers. Have you seen that? People are
Yeah.
bagging on the
Yeah.
developers about this.
Sony
I don't get
always
why.
seem to attack developers. They will not attack Sony regardless. They always go straight to the developers for some reason. It's ridiculous.
How is it?
But then when it's
How
that
is
way
it?
around, when it's that way around and there's an issue with a game that's on Xbox, they will attack Xbox. They will say, "Oh, leave the developers alone. It's not them. Attack Xbox." But then when it's on PlayStation, they will go straight for the throat of the developers, and it's nothing to do with the
Yeah.
developers.
Well,
Sony
what
remain
I don't
quiet.
get is
Sony remains silent for all of it. You notice that? They're just like,
yeah,
say nothing.
they don't correct anyone
No, they don't acknowledge anything.
or tell their fans to back off.
Yeah, or anything.
They just people run rampant. I mean, I think that's stupid to turn around and blame the developers on the site. Okay, so I talked about the tools, right? I talked about how PlayStation had the dev kits out longer, so developers have had more time with the dev kits, so they should be more familiar with it. But from our understanding and what we've talked about, so Xbox changed their their dev kit and they moved to a GDK. And PlayStation had kept obviously they had improved it for the next generation, but they kept the developer tools very simple, and so developers shouldn't have had a problem patching. I mean, oh, patching. What's the word for it? Why can't I think of the word for it? Moving their game, and I can't think of the word for it, from last gen systems to current gen systems. They shouldn't have had an issue because the game should run and recognize because it's x86 architecture. Like there should be no issue there. So the issue is not with the developers; it's actually with the kit or the PlayStation itself. There's something happening there, whether that is a hardware or software issue. It's not down to the developers. The developers have found this issue and would rather release a game that's not broken
Yeah,
than a game that you get to play day one and it is broken. So people are like, "Oh, you've lost me um as a consumer," and it's like, well, some of these developers have been quite vocal on Twitter saying, "Well, I'd rather release a game that's not broken." Like, I think that's a valid thing for them to say. They're honest enough to go, "There's something wrong. We've got to get to the bottom of why this is happening on the system, so your game can run smoothly, so you actually get to take advantage of the PS5 the way the game should run on that system." I'm just, I think it's
I think some red flags were several red
yeah.
flags. One of them was the size of the heatsink and the liquid cooling they've got in the system. Now they seem to get it's all to do with the power of the SSD apparently, but we're not seeing this SSD power at all. So that was a massive red flag. Secondly, right at the beginning, when I think it was Digital Foundry done a breakdown of both consoles, and there's a couple of other
Mhm.
engineers, they said the PS5 is overclocked, if everyone recalls that, and sort of Sony said nothing. PS fanboys defended it, said it's not overclocked. But they did originally say it was overclocked. It's an overclocked console. Hence, that would make sense for the heatsinks, because if you have overclocking on any hardware, especially generally PC gamers do this. PC sort of elitists will do this. They will overclock their machines, but you have relevant cooling to keep down, because it's very damaging for your console and your hardware of your console. But they originally said it's going to be
Yep.
overclocked, and as a result of overclocking, it will have fluctuations in resolution and sort of just technical technical issues. So I think this is why they put in the giant heatsink
Well,
and the liquid cooling, which the Xbox Series X does not have. But thirdly, you know when your console's having issues when the amazing Lucas starts complaining about Sony, who has been an
oh, I
avid
was just going to talk about that.
Sony fanboy for ages, hating the Xbox. He's even called himself a prisoner to Sony. He loves them, but he recently released a video absolutely complaining about them because he wanted to his money back
Refund
for
on
Returnal, yeah.
Returnal.
Same as Neo Spark as well, done the same. And all the PS fanboys went at Neo Spark, didn't say anything to Mason Lucas, but went at Neo Spark calling him a fanboy instead of Xbox fanboy things because he wanted a refund for Returnal. Now we've got to get this.
He demanded better.
Yeah, and which is what Sony fanboys should be doing, but they won't. And because you've got to get your head around this. Firstly, Returnal is a triple a double A game, not a triple A, it's a double A game. Secondly, it costs £70. Thirdly, it's got issues, and the reason why Sony said they're putting up price of games is because next gen games are going to be worth it. They're going to be bigger, they're going to be better, so we're raising the prices of games. Now, this is a double A game that's suffered lots of issues, as the developer said, but it's still £70. Why isn't the game not cheaper for a double A game anyway? Let alone a game with issues. You should give refunds, but Sony will never give refunds. It's in their policy to not give refunds because they are as tight as arseholes, basically, and they're greedy. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I mean, you and I both talked about red flags on that console. I said there's not enough cooling. The heatsink doesn't cover enough, actually, to be honest.
No.
If you look at that. I mean, we're looking at the fact that the PlayStation, it's rumored for summer. Well, we're getting close to summer, guys. When are we going to hear rumblings about the expansion for the M.2 drive? Like, when is that happening?
Yeah.
That's something like, why is that not a conversation like this? We're still waiting. And I mean, moving off from that, and a kind of good segue into our next topic there, Elite, if you're happy to move away from this topic.
Keep on trucking.
Is when is Sony going to be doing another actually game show announcement? I mean, we had the state of play for Horizon Forbidden West, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But what else is coming? Because you're not participating in E3. Are you having some other equivalent show for it? Because it was 19 minutes of or however, maybe 14, 15 minutes of actual gameplay, and then there was some talking by the developers. But that was cool, but that was one game. What else is coming? Because they didn't need.
Didn't they? Did the same for Ratchet and Clank. They just done a state of play, but just showed Ratchet and Clank. And now this time they just showed Horizon Zero Dawn. But these are two games we already knew about. So I mean, we've seen so much of Ratchet and Clank anyway. I don't know why they need to do another state of play for Ratchet and Clank. But these games we already knew.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Did they give a release date as well for Horizon Zero Dawn?
I was going to say that. We got gameplay with no release date. I assumed gameplay would mean that they would at least say 2021, but I think they're really soon because
in 2020.
We just got a release date for Far Cry 6.
Yeah.
December 7th, I think, was the release date. 2021.
We got release
That's
date
the end of the year for Far Cry 6.
Yeah.
Oh, not Far Cry 6. I'm sorry, Dying Light 2. Apologies, Far Cry 6. Dying Light 2. Apologies there. We got a release date for Dying Light 2.
Yeah.
But I thought if we're going to see gameplay, we might even hear like a release window, like holiday 2021. Because then you know God of War's coming. Nope. Well, they said the year last year, 2021. They said last year it was going to be 2021. I'm a bit concerned that it's going to be pushed. But I am also, I guess, of the mindset that they showed gameplay, so maybe it's further along than we think it is. But if it turns into another show and tell like it did, where they just dragged it out for Ratchet and Clank, I was so sick of seeing Ratchet and Clank by the time Ratchet and Clank actually released. Is it even out yet?
No,
I don't know. Is
it?
Oh, I was so sick of seeing it
Yeah.
And I was like, can't we see something else? We know this game is coming. You've shown us gameplay and gameplay and gameplay. Do not drag
Same
this out. I
gameplay, not
understand
you
why
know,
they dragged it out.
sustaining. Yeah.
I understand why they dragged it out. They had to. The game was meant to release earlier, and COVID kind of affected that. But actually, back on task, Serena, because I'll just go on a tangent. What were your impressions of Horizon Forbidden West of what the showing did for State of Play? What did you think?
To be honest, and I got called a fanboy for saying, giving my opinion, because I don't,
Hmm.
you know what happens if you don't like the look of the game, then you're a fanboy. If you do like a look at the game, then you're a gamer. Apparently, I didn't think it looked that great. I didn't. I think it looked pretty much like the last game, and I said generically, it looks a bit like all PlayStation exclusives, where it's got the usual sort of cover hide, shooting, climbing mechanics. And pretty much all their games sort of be like that. Last of Us, Uncharted, they all seem to be sort of cover shooters with sort of some climbing mechanic. And it just looks that, but just in a different mold. Same old, same old. As for the
Hmm.
graphics looks fine, but there is issues with it. I'll let you cover some, but I noticed blatantly
No, just
when she's walking
have
through
your
the
point.
grass.
Just go say what
Yeah,
you want to say.
when she's walking
Yep.
through grass, the grass doesn't seem to part with her. It's more as if it's working as its own separate entity. She's just walking through the grass,
Hmm.
just so it happens to sort of sway. Because there's some points where she actually just phases through the grass and walks straight through the grass. You notice.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't think she interacts with her surroundings very well at all, considering it's next gen. Also, I've
Hmm.
heard that the game's also running at 30 FPS, but there's going to be. I've been
What?
shot back. Yeah, the game's going to be at 30 FPS, but then people shot back said there's going to be two modes to it. That's why. But you got to wonder why
Okay.
they keep making two modes. Why do you need two modes? I mean, Xbox games are
They
standard
they
at 60 FPS. Why do you need a mode running at? Why would you want a mode running at 30 FPS? Why would you want that mode?
isn't it isn't it a cross platform game? So they need a mode where it can easily
Well,
just give you the visuals
that's the other thing.
for
They advertise it as a
and
cross-platform
then
game, but now they've said nothing about it, and they've not even given a release date. So, if are they going to palm it off as a PlayStation 5 exclusive now, or what?
I I think they're still going to do that one cross gen. I have a feeling that one's going to
Yeah.
stay cross gen.
So then the
Yeah.
PS4 version most likely will be 30 FPS. So,
Mm.
but I don't see why it couldn't be 60 FPS still on the PS4 Pro, because games were running 60 FPS on the Xbox X. They weren't really 30 FPS. So, and you know, this is way in development now. They should have been able to make a 60 FPS version for the PS4 Pro at least. But what was your? I know you've got some things you pointed out that are different from my points.
Yeah, well, disclaimer, guys. To first off, obviously this game is in development, so we have to be mindful of that and give it the benefit of the doubt. However, saying that, being devil's advocate, did anyone give Halo Infinite, which had not been released and still a game that was a work in progress,
Yeah,
any heathens or any
no,
I guess allowances for it when it showed last year? It got raked over the coals. I was so upset with the way the gaming community embraced the Infinite gameplay. The gameplay itself was smooth, beautiful, lovely, looked great shooting. It's what you want in a Halo game. But obviously, it's on a new engine, Slip Space engine, so the developers are still getting used to it. That wasn't final code. They've had a whole nother year to work on it. So I'm still mindful, like looking at the Horizon Forbidden West gameplay that we saw. This is still a game in development. Things are going to change. But saying that, there were things that I noticed, like at about 8 minutes into 8 minutes 37-ish seconds, I think it was.
precise.
Right after, I think it was around that time. I was trying to see if I could remember it for the podcast today because I would definitely wanted to talk about this. Um, and right after she defeats that guy with that like axe or hammer thing, whatever he's got, as the camera zooms back out to see a wider shot, you can see Poppin with one of the plants on the right hand side in the corner down the bottom. And I'm thinking, this PS5 SSD, guys, is apparently going to cure cancer because that's what you guys think it does. It runs graphics. Um, there is noticeable pop in there. That was enough to go, hold on, did I see pop in? It was noticeable to me. Um, there were things like making with them with that poppin, I just realized that there's probably some quite aggressive culling going on behind the scenes to have the game looking as nice as it does. And the game does, don't get me wrong, looks absolutely beautiful in the way it has it's the environment, the set pieces, the foliage, everything looks really beautiful and it's very dense. And I mean, the first game on last gen was also very much like that, but I feel like it's taken it to a new level because you've got that extra horsepower behind you in the new console. Because they're showing this on the PS5, you're not seeing the version you're getting for the PS4 or the PS4 Pro at this point. They ain't showing you that.
Mm.
It's not going to be as good. So just be mindful of that. If you're like, oh, that's what I'm getting. No, you're getting that with the PS5, just like with anyone else. When they show Xbox games, they're showing you the best version. Um, but there were things like I don't like the art style myself.
No.
I mean, I loved how intricately detailed everything was, like what she was wearing. Um, Everything just felt very
Well, I
clean
don't recall
and
her hair blowing in the
beautiful,
wind
and
either.
that was no, it wasn't. It was moving, but it kept clipping
Yeah.
through her bow, and that irritated the hell out of me. That was there was clipping. I was like, oh, can we stop this? There were other things that just kind of got niggly with me around like um partway through the demo when she's running through the sand. You don't really see the impact of her feet. It's like her feet are clipping into the sand, not like on like Gears 5 where you've got the tessellation. Is it tessellation or whatever, where they walking through the sand and it kind of spreads. Later on, there
Yeah.
was a bit of that,
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
but it didn't last
Which
very
it even had
long,
on
and
Recore. Recore even had that.
yeah, it didn't last as long.
No.
There still was like you could see the odd bit of footprints in the sand, but I just wasn't impressed um, with the showing of what the I guess the game can do
I
or
see what
the features available on the Decima
I tell you what I didn't like as
engine.
well. Yeah, I think a lot of it is still cutsceney. The bit where like the raptors were attacking her, or she's sort of there, and the raptors all around her and stuff. That's very much your
Yeah.
character put in sort of a. You can see that they're a bit sort of more of a cutscene. I don't think it's
Mm,
really like all you do is control her, especially when she's doing the climbing. I felt that you're climbing
yeah.
up these like little thingies, little post pillars, and the raptors going around you, raptor robots going around you, it's just like a cutscene. I don't think they are interacting with you
Mm.
at all, and I don't think they could interact with you. I don't think they could jump out and attack you at any point or anything. They give the impression that they were
No,
trying to get
yeah.
her, but I don't think they could because I don't think there's actually part of her. I don't think that's a completely different sort of cutscene thing. Do you know what I mean? That's what I didn't
Yeah.
like.
Well, I got very I mean, some of the I feel like I don't know what we saw. I haven't actually bothered to look into whether or not the gameplay we saw was at 60 FPS or 30 FPS. It felt like it was a bit sluggish, and the motion blur I didn't seem to get me a little bit.
Mm.
I did get some like vibes around I guess the way the gameplay um the animation and all of that was occurring, I kind of got Tomb Raider vibes a little bit,
Yeah,
but there
exactly.
were other
Yeah,
things like I definitely got. When she's holding on to that. Oh, what was that thing when she jumped off that ledge? I'm
yeah, it's
trying to
great.
think. It
Yeah,
reminded me of Zelda. I was like, that seems like a feature on Zelda. Um, but I think it's very beautiful for what it is, and that's all I can say about the game. I can't really give anything else to it because I've never played the first
but
one. I
just
have no buy-in, and I feel like that is also why I can be quite
because
clinical about how I
yeah,
perceive the
I
game.
think the question is, would you buy a console for that game, and would you spend £70 on it?
No,
No. And
no,
could you
that's
see yourself
not at
playing that
this
game to the
point.
end?
No,
Spending 20 hours on that
I
game? I
think
don't know if I could do that at all. And
I think
looking at the
I
stats
think
of the
there's
last
no
game, not many people have
buy-in.
completed it. Yeah.
There's not much buy-in for me because I don't I haven't fallen in love with the world. I don't understand the story. Like, while there's this ominous storm and this blight that's coming through, but like, what type of story is it gonna give me? It's very much open discovery type
Yeah.
world. I still feel like there's more that they aren't telling us, and I feel like that's because the game isn't quite as ready as they want it to be, or they're just really holding their cards close to their chest, guys.
Actually,
But for those who are really excited for this game, good for you. If you played the first one and you really wanted a sequel, then it's probably going to be right up your alley. But it's not something I would potentially buy. It doesn't have that Sony magic.
no. I'll
that
tell
I
you
feel
what.
like other games do.
I'll tell you what. Actually, when I was watching it, what it reminded me of, having played Conan for years and years and years now, and now you can all try it and have a
Mm.
look yourself. It reminds me of actually some of the game the fighting mechanics is like Conan, especially using the bow. You know, when she holds the bow, it's very much like Conan. And then
Yeah.
when you see her focus on and hold it at a certain point, I don't know if you noticed, but you get a spark at the end of an arrow, go bing. That means you got a perfect
Mm.
shot, and then you fire. Exactly the same thing happens on Conan.
Yeah.
That's exactly how Conan's done. And the fight
That's
mechanics are
what
the same, very
Zelda
much like
does
Conan.
too, I think, for some
Yeah.
stuff.
So yeah, so I don't think the game mechanics or the gameplay is anything original at all. I did watching it, other than sort of the story and the robots, dinosaurs. I don't find anything that draws me in, anything that's special, original. That I think, oh, that looks new. That looks impressive. I think once you've got,
Character models are a lot more impressive than they were last time. I
yeah,
feel like they've got
it's a new
better
generation. They should
facial
be.
animations.
It'd be worrying if it
Well,
wasn't.
I feel like the facial animations are a little bit better. There's less dead eye, and like you actually feel like it's a little bit more alive. But thinking of that in comparison to what we've seen with facial animations, even looking at a last gen game like Hellblade
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
comparison
Which was an indie
to
title.
Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yeah,
night and day difference. So I think they've done an improvement, but I still think if you're looking at a game which has proper facial animation and they do why can't I think of the name for it? But they do the recording where they actually record the people.
yeah.
Oh,
They do Hellblade. Yeah,
live
what's that called? A
action.
doctor.
No, what's it? Live action. I can't think of what it's called, guys.
There's a video on
One day I'll
YouTube of
remember.
for them doing it with the actress on for Hellblade 2. And it looks fantastic.
Yep.
That game
Yeah.
looks like
So I
fantastic. Yeah,
yeah, so I think the Decima engine is good for the type of games that they have now, but I don't think it needs an upgrade for next gen to take advantage of next gen system. So overall, I mean, I state of play, I think it was good for what it was. The fact it was only one game kind of disappointed me. And I think it was good to kind of just move away from that CGI that we got last time when they showed Horizon Forbidden West, so people could kind of get an idea of, I guess, what the CGI version of the trailer was and see exactly how that transitions and is in the live game. So I think that's a fair representation, and I feel like people were after that
yeah.
to know exactly what style game they were getting and whether or not it was worth upgrading to the PS5. And I think it was, but it's not a game I would upgrade to the PS5
No,
for.
no, it's not. Not at all. It's not shown there. So, should we move on to the final, which sort of links in with this
Yeah.
um, Unreal Engine 5 demo? So, apparently for a year, all we've heard from a certain fan base is this demo, the Unreal Engine 5, isn't capable on the Xbox Series X or the PC. There's even saying that, which a lot of PC gamers have called them out on. The Unreal Engine wouldn't work on the PC or the Xbox Series X. Now we've had a demo come out, and the creators of it, who is it? Epic, isn't it?
Epic, yep.
They've showed a demo on PC and Xbox Series X as well, and they actually made a joke in it saying we've heard a lot of talk by a certain fan base that this is only running on PS5, and we'd like to say that's not true at all. We would like to stop those rumours now. So it's quite interesting they actually mentioned that in the in the video.
They
Um,
could have stopped those rumors last
they
year.
could have done, yeah, but that's probably paid to shut up by someone. They're not saying it. Um,
Yep.
so it's interesting. Yeah, they waited a year before coming out and saying, she does work on other systems." They let that argument just roll and roll.
What did you think of the demo?
Uh,
Because I was quite impressed that we actually got one. But what did you think of the demo?
it looked great. It looked nice. Anything is, as I said, it's just a demo. So this is the best version of it all. And what they're showing isn't actually a game. They just put some stuff together. So if anyone's thinking, "Oh, this is gonna be an amazing game,"
Mm.
it's not actually a game. It's just a demo, just a trial, just to show what it can do. Um, yes, the graphics, everything looks fantastic. I think the point to take away from this, which is what the PS fanboys is missing out on, saying, this is fantastic and it's gonna look amazing on the PS5. As it stands, there is no games confirmed to be using that Unreal 5 engine on PS5 yet. There's no games confirmed for it. Whereas the Coalition have said they're using it because they're working on a secret game, aren't they? The Coalition apparently they're working on another game, and obviously Gears 6. Gears 6 they'll be using it for. Hellblade 2 is also Ninja Theory have also come out and said they're using it for Hellblade 2. But as it stands, there's no games that have been confirmed to be even using this engine yet on the PlayStation 5. So I'm not sure why they're really hyping this up for the PlayStation 5 when there's nothing going to be using it. So I'm quite excited to see this in play for the first time, most likely, for Hellblade 2, which then brings us along to this. It'll be this versus Horizon Zero Dawn. I imagine that would be where the two comparisons come in. But technically, I think the game it does look great. It does look perfect, spot on. What do you think?
Mhm. I was really, really quite impressed with the demo and the fact that they actually showed both it running, like
Yeah,
all of it running, a version running on PC, version running on the Series X, and a version running on
PlayStation
the
5.
PS5.
Yeah,
And it, yeah, so I think that was really cool. It was interesting when they were talking about what they've done around making it easier for developers to use that and integrating some of the things that were kept separate and now they're together. Whereas previously you would have had to be in a different system to do this and then move it over to the current system. Um, or software in that respect. I found it rather interesting from a tech side of things. Um, and then I also found it interesting that they also kind of referenced the fact that people, when the Unreal Engine 5 or UE5 demo for PlayStation 5 released last year, devs were saying, you expect us to turn around and make these massive games with Quixel mega scans.
mm,
Like, how do you expect us to do that? And then they talked about how they've designed these little structures with those Quixel mega scans. But they've done little set piece things, so you can actually just blow them up in size and put them together, and it's actually really fast to build because they've thought about those things. Um, and to hear back at when if you look back in 2019 at the reveal of the Series X and then the reveal trailer of Hellblade 2
yeah,
running in engine, this is what it said, running in engine, targeting Series X specs.
yeah,
It was running a version of UE5 because when Digital Foundry did a tech analysis of the actual trailer, they couldn't find any visual pop-in at all.
no,
And the reason being is now we know on the UE5 demo, they were talking about how the system actually streams in all the information um, and all the lumen and all the everything else. I can't think of everything, nanite and all the other
yeah.
stuff that they use in it.
Luminar or
They were
something
they
like
were
that. Yeah,
talking about that, yeah, and it just made a hell of a lot of sense. So Hellblade 2 is using UE5,
yep,
and you're not going to be running into problems that you normally would from a engine that isn't designed to make to take full advantage of the gaming pipeline and making sure that it's streaming stuff in and removing stuff as it streams it in. So it's got to be it's I think it's a really smart way to kind of show off the features. One of the other things I guess I would have picked up on about the Unreal Engine 5 um, demo was the version of I can't remember what they called. It's like it's not checkerboard rendering. They called it something, and if someone remembers what they called it, they can pop it in our chat later on, and I'll be like, yes, it's exactly what it is. It was some type of sort of upscaling, temporal type of upscaling, like from 1080p up to like 68%, and it actually looked nicer then, and did a better job than oh my god, checkerboard rendering.
mm,
So you know, have your lower image and it upscales into a higher image. They've got something on their UE5 side of it. So what I was thinking about was, for we know how PlayStation has put some money into Epic. Um, I think that we're going to see a lot more PlayStation 5 games running UE5 because a lot of the software that they've got in the engine is versions of what RDNA 2 is using.
mm,
You know, how we've got like machine learning, we've got the super sampling, we've got all these other little features, and it sounds a lot like what UE5 is doing, but on a software level. So you're going to get a lot of PlayStation 5 games probably utilizing UE5 because it has the disparity between it being not being full RDNA 2
yeah,
versus a console like Series X, which is being full RDNA 2. And I think if you're going to see games running on um, any game running on the PS5 using UE5 is going to look hella good, and it's going to be a lot more, I guess, close graphically and just visually aesthetically pleasing to a Series X game. I think because of the engine being such a good engine, you're gonna get a little less disparity between the two versus another game running on another multiplayer game running on a different engine
Yeah,
where it's taking full advantage of the Series X and the software of the engine won't take full advantage of
yeah,
or won't offer service features that the PS5 can't use because that engine, I mean, the PS5 can't use that. Why utilize it on your engine?
yeah,
Whereas they'll be like, oh, feature into the Series X. So that's when you're going to start noticing a lot of
yeah. Because
disparity.
all these engines
But I
at the
think,
end of the day are made for different purposes, aren't they? Like
yeah,
the Slipstream engine's completely different from the Unreal. I mean, people will compare the
yep,
two, but the new Slipstream
yep,
engine for Halo, it won't. I don't think it's going to be made to take in the detail of Unreal Engine 5. It won't be for that, but it'll be for things like
no.
probably more the vastness of it, just taking in sort of I think more stuff like what do you call it? The dynamics. I think dynamic settings and stuff like that. I think that's
Well,
what
UE5 has to
Slipstream.
be a universal because it
Yeah,
goes to so many different developers using it. Slipspace is just for Halo, guys,
yeah,
just for Halo.
that's right.
And they went through and they put stuff into the Slipspace engine that they wanted because their old engine had become outdated
Yeah,
and it couldn't do things that they wanted to do, and
kind
it
of
would
like
have been too
yeah.
expensive to fix
I think kind of
or to implement.
aren't Bethesda. Are they also using UE5? Are they using UE5?
No,
Or
I
they've got
think
their own
Bethesda's
engine,
just
they?
got their own ones.
Yeah, so that, but they've
They've got,
upgraded their engine recently, haven't they?
I think they've gone to a new engine or they've
Yeah,
completely
they
done an
have.
overhaul on their old. Yeah,
I
because I
think that's
think
what's
their
held
old
back
engine is just
Starfield, doesn't it? Because they've gone for a brand new engine.
yeah.
Because everyone complained about their old engine in their game, and it was starting to look dated. But I think
Well,
they've gone to a complete new engine.
Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be on the new engine.
Yeah,
That was obvious.
and I think Starfield is as
But
well.
yeah. But what are your thoughts? Do you think that like because UE5 seems to have a lot more software based features that are similar to certain things that would take advantage of what's already on the hardware side of RDNA 2, do you feel like we could be seeing if games are releasing on Unreal Engine 5 for both PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5, sorry, PlayStation 5 and Series X, and their multiplayer games, do you reckon they're going to be a lot more visually, I guess, on parity with each other just because of the fact that using UE5?
Um,
That's my thoughts. I think
Yeah,
there will
I
be.
reckon there will be very few similarities using UE5. I think where then the play will come in will be the developers, the talent of the developers. I think that's where I think that's going to
Yeah.
shine. I imagine. So it
Well, they've
will.
still got to build and
But what
continue.
games
Sorry.
use Unreal Engine on PlayStation 5?
I don't think there's like virtually any. I think
I
because
think
they've
it's
put
uses
that
Decima.
money into, yeah, well,
Insomniac
Decima's its
use their
own
own engine,
thing.
didn't they? They use their own engine. I can't remember the name of their engine. Uncharted, Last of Us. What? Naughty Dog. What engine
I
does Naughty Dog use?
reckon I reckon a lot of them are going to be moving over to UE5 there
I
because they've
imagine
got
so.
that deal
Naughty Dog
with
probably will.
Epic.
Yeah. Thing is always using Decima. Insomniac use their own engine. I can't remember the name of their engine now. God of
Hmm.
War, Santa Monica, they use their own engine. I can't remember the name of the engine. I imagine Naughty Dog probably use it because it looks like an engine that will favour them, sort of the detail.
Well, I reckon they would use the new engine because their engines might not be ready to take advantage of next gen
No,
features.
yeah,
Like a lot of the engines won't fully be able to realize ray tracing.
yeah,
So, I mean, UE5 currently doesn't offer ray tracing at the moment. It's got like a software based version with the Lumen,
yeah.
which is their global illumination. Um, but I, I don't know. I think
So wait and see.
once you start getting once you start getting
Well,
games that are fully taking
yeah.
advantage of RDNA 2 and everything else, I think that's when you're going to start noticing a big disparity.
Well,
But
we'll
I
we'll
think
see it on.
UE5 is going to be a good UE5 is going to be a band-aid for the I guess for the what is lacking in the PS5
Yeah,
around the RDNA features.
and we will see. I'd imagine possibly the UE5 in full power on June 12th/13th when Hellblade 2, possibly if they show gameplay, we'll then see UE5 in action on the Xbox Series X.
Well, if you've been listening to any other gaming podcasts or anything else, the rumor mill is saying that there is no Hellblade going to be shown this year.
Really?
Or at least at E3. There might be some later in the year. I really want Hellblade to show, guys,
I
but I
think they will
think they're
show that.
trying to be smart.
Mm,
I want them to. I don't think I want them to.
yeah.
Um, I I think they're going to be smart and like only show it when it's close to being ready because we know that in order for them to do the like you've been watching the dev diaries, in
Yeah.
order for them to do that game and more it make it bring it more to life and such. She went and did learned how to fight.
Yeah, I see that on
Actually
YouTube. Yeah.
got trained to do that and I was like, yes, can't wait. Just
Yeah.
keep keep adding extra value to me wanting to purchase this game,
Yeah.
guys.
I've
Keep
seen
giving
that.
me a reason to throw money at it.
Yeah, if you've not looked
I
at it,
just
people, go to
honestly
YouTube and Google it. There's, I think, that half-hour long video of all the things she's going
I don't
through.
know how long it is, but it was
They've
great.
taught her how to fight with swords and all sorts and that, and she's gone through all sorts of training, plus all the
And they got the
technical stuff into it. It's amazing.
yeah, they got some of the animators in to do the classes as well so
Yeah,
that they could learn and I guess fully understand about the animation and what
yeah.
is required so that they can make a more realistic game.
Because
Uh
she's not an actress, is she? She was like a member of the staff, wasn't she? When she one of the
she was the
developers, I think.
video editor.
Yeah, yeah.
Video
And
editor.
they went, "You do. We're not paying an actress.
Well, they just said
You do."
yeah, they said, "Well, can you step in the meantime? We don't have someone to play her yet, and we need to kind of, I guess, get this off the ground and kind of get funding and stuff for it."
Yeah.
And then they were like, keep doing it," and then she just became it. She got a BAFTA. She
She.
got a BAFTA award for playing. Yeah, she got a BAFTA for Hellblade 1. Yeah,
Wow. I
well
mentioned her then.
done to
Yeah,
her.
well done to her. She looks fantastic. Yeah.
She did an amazing job, and now she's doing it again, and
Yeah.
oh,
So
love it.
I think they
But
will show gameplay. I think they'll show it at the end. I don't think we'll see anything from Fable yet. I think they'll be quiet on Fable. I won't show anything of that.
I
But
think
Hellblade
they're
2,
not going to show Fable.
no, they won't show Fable, will
They're
they?
not going to say. They're not going to show Forza Motorsports. I think you're more likely to get Horizon
Horizon, yeah.
before you're going to get it before you get a Forza Motorsports.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
I think the so far the best showing of UE5 was Hellblade 2 so far.
yeah. Yeah.
That's my opinion.
In actual gameplay state, yeah. Not demo.
Yeah,
Actual game.
and
Well, not
I
gameplay,
mean
but game. Yeah,
Masters
actual
of
game.
Ma- Masters of UE5 Gears team,
Yeah.
the coalition.
Yeah.
They know how to use
Because they've been
UE5
working with it
U
since day one.
Unreal Engine at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they've been working
To
with
all the
it.
haters
Um,
that have not played Gears 5 and Hive Busters, then you won't understand. But you go play that game.
hmm,
They'll play Xbox games, but that game, it is Gears 5 the last one, wasn't it? The game looked fantastic. So,
PS5, yeah. I was so honestly to see the last year I was so pissed off at them saying that it was going to be only playable on the the PS5 this demo or the actual
yeah,
engine would
absolute
only be able to
nonsense.
run this good on the PS5.
Yeah,
Absolute nonsense. That game was what 1440p 30 FPS.
yeah,
Like really, you
yeah.
thought a console and a PC couldn't run that engine any better? You thought that it was down to your PS5 SSD
SSD,
that the game was streaming
ridiculous.
like it had nothing to do with it. It was the engine,
Yeah,
and even then, the one person who developed that demo wasn't taking full advantage of the PS5 at that point. I guarantee you, because that game should at least be able to run 60 FPS,
and
guys.
I imagine when that come
I'm sick
out,
of this.
I imagine Sony paid them not to say anything. That's why they never come out until a year later, exactly a year later, to say, "Oh, it also runs on the Xbox Series X and PC." Because they were silent
Hmm,
for a complete year while everyone was speculating. There was media. Everyone was continuously saying this will only be on the PS5. They never said anything until a year later, and then they said, "Oh, by the
no.
way, it does also run on Xbox Series X." Sony would have paid
Yeah.
them to do that. There's no way otherwise. They would just kept quiet. So
Well, rounding out, I don't have much more to say
no,
about the
nor do I.
UE5 demo, because I was thoroughly impressed with what they talked about, the tech inside it. We got a lot more understanding of what's happening with the engine. I still think there's quite a few questions that went unanswered. Um, and for those who like the technical side of things, you'll be understanding exactly what I'm talking about. But just a last topic there for you, Elite, one that I'm just adding in now is what is your most anticipated game that Microsoft might show or Xbox and Bethesda might show at E3. What would you love them to show? I already told you I want Hellblade 2. That's what
Well,
I want.
this is a bit of a rumor thingy here that's going around, which they probably won't show it. What? Dark.
I said Starfield. I
Oh, so
whispered Starfield.
no, yeah. Oh no, I'd like to see Starfield. I want to see more of that. No, no. As sort of out of the box thing, for some reason I've got a feeling someone's working on Scalebound because there's been a developer that's saying they've developed an IP, a game with a code name Dragon. Have you heard that rumor?
Oh,
One of
it's the
who's it? I think it's one of the first party ones, and the code name for it's called Dragon.
I can't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and
Why can't I
I
remember
wonder
the
if that's
name? But I know
Scalebound.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I wonder if it's Scalebound.
You think it's going to be Scalebound?
I reckon possibly there might be
It could
players
be.
working on Scalebound. I can't think of why the code names ain't Dragon. Um,
I would, I would
Rise
love
2
to
might
see
be
what
interesting,
Compulsion Games is.
but that's out of the box
Yeah,
stuff. Compulsion games, that'd be interesting to see what they're doing. I want to see some
I want to see
gameplay for
what they're
Everwild.
doing.
I want to
Oh,
see
yes,
find
please.
out
I
what
want
that
to know
is.
what Everwild is about. The
Exactly.
game looks beautiful,
I've
but I want to know what you're going to be doing in the game. It looks beautiful.
I've
Tell
heard
me
that
what I'm
this.
going to do with
I
it.
heard apparently it's meant to be more like a Pokemon style of game. That's what I've heard. So you're meant to be just roaming around and you can do stuff like that, kind of like Pokemon. I'm not sure how much that's going to be true. We have to wait and see. I kind of hope it's not, but then it would be interesting how they sort of work in sort of a more sort of I don't know, interesting. But I suppose Avowed. I want to see some gameplay of Avowed.
I think that's too early in development,
Yeah, so it'd be
but
interesting.
it would be nice.
Yeah, Fable. I think Fable I should just keep off the plate. Keep out of the room at the moment. What else? There's
Well,
so
they're
many
still
games.
hiring for Fable.
I hope.
They're
I
still
think they're going to drop
hiring
some
for that
release dates
developer.
because we've got so many games coming to Xbox Series X, even though there's none. I mean, we've got things like all the third-party games like Crossfire X, Stalker 2, The Gunk, Exo Mecha, Scorn, Ascent has got a release date. But I'd like to see some release date for those games. A bit more of
Oh,
those.
the Ascent looks so good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's dropping in June,
Like just
July,
the
July.
Ascent. Honestly, even though it's a what type of like over the top, like up above. I can't think of
Yeah,
the name of the actual
it's
technical
sort of
name for
like
that type of
Minecraft
game.
Dungeons, isn't it?
Well, it reminds me of Diablo as
Yeah,
well.
Diablo
Yeah,
style
that
game. Yeah,
over tabletop type style. I can't actually think of the proper name for it, but
I
yeah,
can't
whatever.
wait to play that. I
Um,
think we should definitely play that. That's my kind of game. That one.
the
I played
Ascent.
Minecraft
Yeah,
Dungeons with you a bit, but I'm not being keen on Minecraft. But this game looks brilliant. I'm looking forward to that.
yeah. That game, honestly, the detail, the intricacy, the
Yeah,
character models, that game looks, for what it is, it looks really, really cool. And it's a indie game, and I'm really thoroughly impressed with it. I just really want to see Halo, guys. To be honest, Halo Infinite, please. I want to see what you guys have done with that extra year of development because I feel like you guys may have been able to build in ray tracing by now.
yeah,
Because they said ray tracing was coming at a later date. You've now got a whole extra year of development, polishing and fixing the game, fixing pop-in, getting used to the velocity
we'll see the
architecture.
multiplayer as well.
Obviously, maybe yeah, they might be using the velocity architecture. They might not, but
Yeah,
yeah, I want to see what's happened with Halo compared to the showing we saw last
yeah,
to what it is now. Because I feel like the game's ready to be released, and people are chomping at the bit. Like myself, I really want to play the new Halo.
yeah. There's been some people playing it, isn't there? Didn't someone come forward and say they've actually been playing Halo? Infinite?
Yeah,
Who was it? Said that? I can't remember.
lucky bastards.
Yeah. So yeah, we ended on a swear word. Right.
That's how we do here
Yeah,
in New
that's how we
Zealand.
roll. Yeah, end every sentence in a swear word.
What we do, yeah, every sentence is a swear word. No.
Right. Okay, so we'll end it there, shall we? Uh, so thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please
Yeah.
sub, please share, please like. Go and check out Red Dead Panda's YouTube channel as well. Check out the channel and chase her up on Twitter and spam her.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you got anything more to say? You got anything more to say, Red Dead, before we jump off?
Just to tell you that you're a big fraud elite.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're a Sony pony.
Yeah.
I thought everyone should know that you're secretly a Sony sleeper shell, cell agent, building up Xbox fans just to pull us back down
Switch
again
over
with all your
like
I love
crap gamer
Sony fan.
and
Yeah,
sort your gaming and stuff. Yeah, it's my plan.
MBG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it happening. Wait till you buy your PS5, which when it's out of stock.
Yeah. When
When
it
you
works.
buy a PS5 when the next gen starts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a PS5 when PS6 comes out because it'll be cheaper by then, and it might actually be worth it.
Yeah,
No,
it
I'm
might
kidding.
actually
I'm
work.
kidding, guys.
Yeah.
Totally joking. Totally joking. Don't want to discredit anyone's actual purchase. Buy what you want. That is your choice. Um, but yeah, I enjoy doing the podcast with you each week.
We do,
So
yeah, fun.
when we get to do a podcast, and I enjoy the fact that some people also enjoy listening to us ramble on and talk about absolutely nonsense about this passion that we all love. So thank you to all the people who listen. Um, just shout out to me on Twitter. Say hi. Love to say hi back to you. And thank you. Enjoy another week of our rambling nonsense.
Yeah, it's a
And
bank
we're
holiday.
back.
It's a bank holiday here in England right now, so everyone enjoy the weather. Get your BBQs out and
Oh, um,
get drunk.
one thing. One thing I did want to say is we are planning on doing some sort of type of show, like maybe the day after E3. So
Yes,
look
we
out
are
for that.
to cover E3. Yeah, so go for that. I'm hoping to get some guests so for that as well. So anyway, thank you all for
Yeah.
watching and goodbye for
Bye,
now.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.